Well, it's Boomer Sooner time again, folks. Hello out there in the video world. We'll cover the 6th game this year, which will be the 102nd meeting between the University of Kansas and the University of Oklahoma in Norman. Their last meeting came in Manhattan when the Oklahoma Sooners won the game 47-19. The Rock Chalk Jayhawks finished last year with a 2-for-10 record and an 0-for-9 conference standing in the Big 12. The closest they came to winning a Big 12 game or any game last year was the loss to Baylor 31-30. The new head coach for the Kansas Jayhawks, that would be Charlie Weis. He is the former coach at Notre Dame. That's the only real head coaching experience he's had in college. In the years he spent there, he finished 35-27 overall. As far as Kansas last year, they averaged 22.3 yards a game. And they graduated their quarterback, Jordan Webb, passed for 1,900 yards and 13 touchdowns last year. This season for Kansas, it's going to be a new regime, as I said, under Charlie Weis. And to start off, it's already going to be interesting because of the starting quarterback situation there. Their quarterback situation is kind of up in the air. They've had a lot of people transfer in, transfer out over the last year. And with Jordan Webb graduating, they had to find another quarterback. Well, they didn't have to look very far. Dane Christ passed for 2,300 yards while at Notre Dame, and rejoins Charlie Weis. He'll be able to come in as a graduate player after spending 4 years at Notre Dame, so he can automatically go into college at Kansas and not redshirt. So a lot of people, including me, expect him to be the quarterback, Dane Christ. They don't have to look so far to get a new running back. James Sims is that player. He had 182 carries last year for 747 yards and 3 touchdowns. Christ will probably be looking for TJ Bashirs to be his wide receiver. Last year, Bashirs had 40 catches for 437 yards and 3 touchdowns. Their defensive standout will be Bradley McDougald. McDougald last year had 89 tackles, 2 picks, and a fumble recovery from his defensive end position. And special teams, they'll probably do the same thing that they did last year because Charlie Weis is coming in and they've got to change the offense a lot. Kicker, they don't really have to change as much. That's probably going to be Rod Dowdy. As far as field goals are concerned, he was 3 for 4 for 75% last year. Had a long of 37 yards against Oklahoma State last year. Rod Dowdy, the punter, 64 punts, I should say. 42.8 was his average. And the long was the rivalry game, border war, whatever you want to call it, against the Missouri Tigers. He had that punt for 62 yards. This game is going to be rather interesting to see how things finish out because of what is going to inspire in the Game 7 preview, and that will be a game against Notre Dame. The reason why it's going to be so interesting is that as I said before, Charlie Weis used to be at Notre Dame. It's not going to be quote unquote the same offense, but the schemes are the same. You throw the ball a trillion times, and you'll see what they get. Um, as far as this game with Charlie Weis is concerned, it should be pretty good. It should be an easy win for Oklahoma. Should be is the operative word since the game is in Norman, and it's not a basketball game. But it's going to be interesting to find out how Charlie Weis does at Notre Dame. If he puts up the same sort of wins he did at Kansas. Remember, this is the same Kansas team that their final year under Mangino did go undefeated. Now, I understand that year they did not have to face the three juggernauts that are Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and Texas that year. They did not have to face those juggernauts. They did what they had to do, and they probably got their biggest bowl win in the whole regime of college sports, as far as Kansas football is concerned. Basketball, they won national championships. They've done it before. Football, they really haven't. So that big win over Virginia Tech a couple of years ago in the Orange Bowl was huge for this program. After that, of course, shortly after that, they fired their head coach, Mark Mangino, who used to be a former OU assistant. And now this is their third coach in 2 years because of that scenario. And that would be Charlie Weis. So we'll see how that goes for them. They have a pretty good, like I said, they have a pretty good quarterback coming back that obviously only showing for 2,300 yards at Notre Dame is not anything to clap about, anything to scream about, but he does know this offense. So it'll be interesting to see how he does at Kansas. Up next will be Dan Christ's old school of Notre Dame. They'll be making only their second trip to Norman in quite a while. We'll break that game down. And until then, Boomer Center.